What's up, guys? Movement Zach here, and today we're going to go over some cueing and form for the barbell back squat. First things first, with your squat, we're going to set your feet up properly. Foot spacing is more than likely going to change throughout your lifting career. It's realistically wherever you're comfortable. Mine has changed a good bit throughout my lifting career. I started out nice and narrow and a little bit more close, and now I am a good bit wider with a toe out. So just find something that works for you and know that it's not a problem to change it as you go. We just want you to be comfortable and effective throughout your lifts. So if it needs to change, then change it. But we'll set those feet up here. One thing I want you to think about is spreading your toes and then grabbing the ground with those toes. And then another thing is going to be externally rotating your knees out a little bit. There are going to be a few things that happen with this. The first one is your arches will be a little bit taller. They're going to be nice and strong. The bones of your ankles will be stacked together, and then your glutes will also be a little bit more active in this position. So you're going to try and maintain that external rotation as we squat. Another thing that is going to do is it's going to help you keep your knees driven out to the side as you squat. Whenever we squat, what we don't want to see is those knees or ankles collapse like you can see here. We want everything pushed out to the side and open. That way we can be nice and strong through the hip girdle. Now, hand placement. This is another one where one size doesn't fit all. I typically like to use the hash marks with my index fingers, line those guys up to where we're symmetrical. That's really the only thing that matters there, is the symmetry. Whenever you rack the bar on your shoulders, we want to get it on the meat of your traps. If it sits on C7 of your spine, the bone, it's going to be relatively uncomfortable. So try and get it in that nice meaty section of your traps. From there, you're going to push straight up, step back, and then we'll step out laterally. Then you'll notice I'll kind of rock back and forth, heel to toe. I'll also go side to side a little bit. This helps me ground my feet and really get a good stance and a good grounding. I'm going to work on pushing my elbows back lightly. My abs are engaged, and then I'm going to lower slowly to where my hip crease is about parallel with my knees, driving up, squeezing the glutes and the quads. We'll go back down, driving up, squeezing the glutes and the quads, and back up. Big squeeze. Now, unless you're working out with a trainer or a partner who kind of knows what they're doing, I would strongly suggest videoing yourself from a lateral angle as well as either a rear view or a front view. We're going to look for a few things within that video, and we're going to fix them if they're not there or if you're seeing the problems. So from the lateral view, there's two things in particular that we want to look for. One of which is going to be a straight bar path. We want your bar to go straight down and come straight back up on your squats. Another thing is we want to look at butt wink or your core stability. So if you squat and we notice as you squat, we get a huge butt wink and it ducks under like that, that's not necessarily good. You probably want to work on some hip mobility and some glute activation. And what we really want to see is a nice and stable spine as you go through that squat. Now, if you have a little bit of butt wink, that's really not too big of a deal. But if it's really drastic, we're going to want to be careful with that for potential spinal injuries. And then if we were looking at either the forward view or the rear view, there's two main things we want to pay attention to there. One of which is your ankles, which your ankles and your knees will kind of go together. But we want to make sure that your ankles are staying nice and stacked and that they're not collapsing inward as you squat. And then we also want to make sure that your knees are driven externally whenever you squat. So as you squat, this is what you don't want to see. We don't want to see your knees kind of fall in and your ankles fall. What we want to see is that external rotation and the foot grab. And then as you squat, the arch stays tall, the ankles stay stacked, and the knees are pushed outward. This is also going to create a lot of power from your hip girdle and a lot of stability. And then if we were to look at some kind of abstract but very important power cues, there are two good ones. And they both involve moving the floor. Obviously, the floor is not going to move. That's why they're abstract. But bear with me. So imagine your feet are strapped into the floor. For the lowering phase of your squat, you want to think about pulling the floor up to you as you squat down. What this is going to do, it's probably going to slow you down a little bit on your descent, and it's also going to help you keep all of your muscles active as you lower into that descent. The second one that we're going to think about is also dealing with the floor, is you are going to push the floor away from you as you stand up. So we're going to drag the floor up to us as we squat down and then push the floor away. And you'll notice when I'm really thinking about that cue, it makes for a nice, powerful, and kind of snappy squat. Leave any questions or comments in the comment section, obviously, and like and subscribe. Till next time.